On today's show, Kevin Durant is absolutely still a top 10 player in the NBA, and he was snubbed in the Locked On Top 100 Players poll. We're going to break it all down for you right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. On today's show, we're going to be breaking down our first ever Locked On NBA Top 100 Players poll, where frankly the Rockets got kind of disrespected. Kevin Durant clocked in at 11th, and it feels wrong. We're going to be talking about that and breaking down the rest of the list throughout this week. First, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everydayer. And joining us now is your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast, and diehard Houston Rockets fan, Madison Moore. You can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Here to break down, discuss, debunk, crucify maybe a little bit this Locked On NBA Top 100 Players ranking list that we came out with as an organization. This is a brand new thing, the first time Locked On has ever done this. And we're going to be talking about it over a series of episodes this week as it relates to your Houston Rockets, where certain players ranked in the NBA Top 100 Players poll. Kevin Durant, Alperen, Sengun, Thompson, Fred VanVleet, a lot of names we're going to be talking about this week in relation to their NBA peers, where they rank. And Madison, I gotta tell you from the jump, man. I know we were texting about this throughout the day, and we were preparing for this episode. And you and I both have a lot of gripes about this top 100 list. I voted in the list. You did not vote in the list. So basically every full-time Locked On host voted on this list, and this is what ultimately transpired. And we're going to be focusing on just Kevin Durant primarily, and more or less the top 10 or so names of the list here in today's episode, kind of breaking it down from there. And then we'll do another episode and we'll talk about Alperen Sengun and him being just disrespected all the way down at number 36. That felt like egregiously low. And later we'll get to Thompson and Fred VanVleet as well, a little bit further down the line. But I'm burying the lead here a little bit, Madison, and we're going to talk about the top 10 names that did occur that were voted on. We'll talk about Kevin Durant's rank, and then we'll present our own version of a top 10 list. The top 10 list that we think is accurate and real, not the fake news top 10 list that we going on right now. So here, I'm burying the lead here. Kevin Durant clocked in at 11th, and that felt pretty disrespectful in the grand scheme of things. Let me just present the actual top 10 guys really quickly, and then we'll talk about the top 10, and we'll get into KD and who he probably should have been ahead of. Maybe not even probably, definitively should have been ahead of. But let me present this list really quick. If you're watching on YouTube, the graphics up there, but we've got Nikola Jokic at number 1 for the Denver Nuggets, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at number 2 for the OKC Thunder, Giannis Antetokounmpo at number 3 for the Milwaukee Bucks, Luka Doncic at 4 for the LA Lakers, Steph Curry at 5 for the Golden State Warriors, and then things start to get a little questionable. Anthony Edwards at 6 for the Wolves, Victor Wembanyama at 7 from the Spurs, Jalen Brunson at 8 from the Knicks, Donovan Mitchell at 9 from the Cavs, and Jayson Tatum at 10th from the Boston Celtics. And not pictured on this graphic is Kevin Durant, who is the leader, 11th spot on the next graphic, which I'll show here in a moment. But Madison, your reaction first to KD not making the top 10.
So before we get into this reaction, I'm glad you made a point. I did not vote. I am not responsible for this top 100 list. This insane top.
He said, "My hands are clean. Don't lump me in with them."
this is take this episode as my take on what's going on with this list. But yeah, top 10 list, I actually had a lot of issues with the back half of this top 10 list, and I'm really confused on how Kevin Durant did not crack this top 10, especially seeing some of the names in there like Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama, guys. Some of these guys who probably their first time cracking the top 10 list. You know what I mean? And so it was really interesting to see it, and just going down this list, you know, seeing where the Rockets are and seeing where other players are on this list. We're going to have a lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks. But before we do that, I kind of needed to just understand, maybe I'm missing something here. Can you explain to us what the prompt was? Are you guys projecting forward for this? Is this, you know, are you drafting players?
So that's always the hard thing, is trying to understand, you know, how these lists are done, right? Because, you know, every year, you know, places like, you know, the Ringer and then ESPN and CBS, they all do these top 100 lists. So we, as, you know, Locked On, thought, hey, it's time we should put together our own list. And the way that it was presented to us, the Locked On NBA hosts, was who we think the best players will be for this upcoming season. So that's all we're factoring in. We are only looking at the 2025-2026 NBA season. We are factoring in injuries, injury history, you know, previous whatever, like everything building up to this season. But that's what it's looking at. It's not trying to predict, who's going to be the best player like 5 years down the line, or who we think is going to run the league, you know, in a few seasons, that kind of thing. It's just looking at this season, and it is taking into account injuries. So guys like Jayson Tatum, who somehow still made it in the top 10, despite he's going to miss like more than half the season. Like it's supposed to take into account injuries for guys like Tatum, like Tyrese Halliburton, you know, guys with injury histories like Joel Embiid, like Zion Williamson, players like that. So that was at least the prompt given to us to work with to then dictate our voting at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you take that into consideration, it's really confusing to see this list, especially Jayson Tatum ahead of Kevin Durant coming off an Achilles injury. That is I don't know, man. That is tough to see from Locked On hosts. I don't know if you guys were just got a little too smart for yourselves. And sometimes this Victor Wembanyama, he's not even made an All-Star game yet. Like
no, he made one All-Star. He made it last year. He made it last year. Yeah.
My mistake. Well, Victor Wembanyama is, I think,
it was rigged. He had a whole country voting for him. All right, that's not fair.
I mean, but Victor Wembanyama is don't get me wrong. Victor Wembanyama is a great player, but he's just not there yet, right? He's just not there yet. And to me, there's a whole lot of projecting leaps. And I think guys getting to this sense that they want to feel smart, like they predicted something amazing is going to happen. And I just really, when you talk about lists like this, how good is a guy going to be right now at this moment, this season, for you to pick players who are unproven, who have not proved that level of play? I don't think people understand top 10 player in the league is a multi-time superstar. The consistency has to be there. The breadth of work has to be there for you to project this guy to be a top 10 player in this league next year.
One of the best 10 players on the planet, basically, is the way to look at it.
Exactly. One of the best 10 players in the planet. And after number 5, for me, it really after 6. I think this list really falls hard on its face. There's several players, not just Kevin Durant, but especially Kevin Durant, that should have been considered to me over there.
It certainly felt like he was pretty heavily snubbed. And you know, I think that you look at maybe the fact that, you know, the Suns had a down year, right? A really bad season. It feels like maybe he's being punished a little bit from that. But you look at the numbers, right? First off, Suns were 3-17 when KD didn't play. They were garbage. They were a certified dumpster fire when he didn't play. And he made them a passable 500 team when he did participate. He posted 26.5 points on 52, 43, 84 shooting splits last season, like showing absolutely zero signs of slowing down. Still pretty arguably the most unguardable player in the NBA, the most legitimate bucket getter in the entire NBA. And that alone doesn't even factor in the fact that he's still a plus level defender, despite being about to start his, you know, year 37 or see, I guess what season? I don't know what season it is. He's turning 37. Not season 37. But he's about to be 37. His birthday is on Rockets Media Day. And he is still a plus level defender at this stage of his career. That with the scoring, with the body of work, it's not even just a snub. It feels downright disrespectful that he wasn't included in the top 10. So coming up, we are going to name the players that Kevin Durant is definitively better than and should have been ahead of on this top 10 list. And then later on, we're going to be ranking our own top 10 players in the NBA. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300, $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use FanDuel in so many different ways. It's great because it lets you bet how you want to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Right now, you can head on over to FanDuel.com. Take a look at the outright betting favorites to win the Super Bowl this season. The Bills leading the pack by an edge at plus 650. The Eagles behind them at plus 700. The Ravens plus 750. The Packers at plus 850. And the Chiefs all the way down in fifth place at plus 1,000. So for all those odds and so much more, head on over to FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, we are talking about this Locked On Top 100 Players poll, but we are still covering Eurobasket. We're still following Turkey as they are trying to place gold in the Eurobasket tournament. So be on the lookout for our game recap episode coming out next. Should be a great game between Turkey and Poland. Should be an awesome competition, and hopefully Turkey continues to impress across the board. But all right, Madison, let's start right here. KD was ranked 11th, and here's the graphic for KD at 11. So he's leading the pack. KD at 11. Somehow LeBron James behind him at 12, and then you still got Tyrese Halliburton, who's also dealing with some of the same injury stuff that Jayson Tatum will be at 13. You got AD at 14, Cade at 15, Mobley at 16, Kawhi 17, Booker 18, Karl-Anthony Towns 19, and Jalen Williams at 20th. We're not going to spend too much time focused on the back half of this list or the last 9. We want to take a look going forward and trying to figure out, okay, how does this function? Basically, which of these players can we definitively say KD is better than? Let's just work our way up this list like a ladder. And let's start with Jayson Tatum. So KD over Jayson Tatum. Yes, right?
Of course. It is
especially with the injury. In fact, actually, I want to raise you one. If Tatum wasn't injured, I'm still taking KD over Tatum.
Exactly. And we can go back through the history of Tatum. Tatum's biggest weakness is his consistency. And that's arguably Kevin Durant's greatest strength, like his offensive consistency, right? The efficiency numbers are a testament to that. 50, 40, 90, over the course of his years. And so, all the struggles that Tatum has had, he's had a lot of success. He's a great player, but all the successes that Tatum's had, he's had some real struggles in the playoffs. And that is where all the marbles are made. And Kevin Durant is a playoff killer. Like he is the Slim Reaper. He's one of the players you do not want to see have the ball in his hands at the end of a game. And he's going to seal the game and close it. And so off that strength alone, Jayson Tatum, I think, is an excellent candidate. But because of the injuries we're talking about next season, Jayson Tatum's not even going to play 60%, 70% of the season. And then when you put on top of that the longevity of Kevin Durant over each season has been more consistent and arguably a better player, a better top 5 guy. I can't imagine how Jayson Tatum came ahead of Kevin Durant on this list. I mean, guys must really be betting on him to fall off.
100%. And I think that's part of the issue is that if there were some signs of some regression last season, I could understand. Like maybe the efficiency dipped a little bit, maybe the sheer volume falls off a little bit and he's down, 22, 21 points per game, whatever. No, like the dude was literally single-handedly keeping the Phoenix Suns relevant through big chunks of the season, dealing with, other injuries to his other star players, in Booker and Beal. And it was just such a dysfunctional situation overall. I really do think, that he's getting dinged for that, unfortunately. And then so let's you go to the next name on this list. And honestly, like Tatum, when healthy, is I think
yes,
top 10 player in the league. Like that shouldn't be up for debate. He's been in MVP conversations. The consistency is certainly his Achilles heel, but still a top 10 player. He brings great defense. Like you love what Tatum brings. Donovan Mitchell has 0 place in the top 10 list here. He is the most egregious pick of the 10 players here. Donovan Mitchell, who is like this era's like choke artist, can't make it past the second round. Like he has 0 business being in the top 10 of the NBA until he can prove it on the biggest stage.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell definitely does not belong here. I don't know what was going on with guys. I don't know what's happening here. I think guys are just looking at
it's because he's the best player on the Cavs and they were dominant last season. But I feel like that's more about the team than it is Donovan Mitchell. And they disappointed again. Yeah.
They disappointed again in the playoffs. I mean, and I honestly think if you go back and actually look at Donovan Mitchell's playoff numbers, they are really good. And he's been good for the Cavs in the playoffs. Pretty good for them. But still, top 10 guy like this is the top 10 players in the world right now. Donovan Mitchell does not belong in this list. Not only does he belong behind Kevin Durant, but there's several players in the top 20 I believe Donovan Mitchell should be behind. And I really just don't understand how people came to this conclusion. There must be some real Cavs. How many votes did the Locked On Cavs guys get? Because they got some questionable. I mean, Evan Mobley at 16, Donovan Mitchell at 9. What's going on?
It's only, you know what? I want some, you know what? This is terrible parody because some shows have 1 host and other shows have 2 hosts. That's BS because if other shows had 2 hosts, my vote should have counted twice.
Right,
this is exactly. This is unfair. It's outrageous. So, all right. I'm trying to think of the Anakin Skywalker like rant from when he didn't become a Jedi Master, and he's yelling at Yoda and oh my God, Mace Windu and all that. I can't remember the spiel. It's been too long since I've watched a Star Wars movie. Anyways, I'm getting way off base here. Next name on the list, and here's one. Like here's my like. I think Brunson has shown that he's a top 10 player in the NBA. I don't he's the one that I'm the least frustrated with as a pick. The Knicks aren't what they are without Brunson. He's been one of the most clutch players in the NBA the past few seasons in a row. He constantly puts that Knicks team on his back, delivers in big moments. He's taken them to the conference finals. He's dealt with Tom Thibodeau, running every single starter on that team into the freaking dirt before getting to the postseason. I think that Brunson does belong in the top 10. However, he does not belong ahead of KD. That's my take there.
Yeah, I think Jalen Brunson, to me, I think his rise to superstardom has been pretty unconventional. Like it's just a testament of taking advantage of opportunity. And for that, I think he earns a lot of respect. But I don't know if I could squeeze him at 10 for me, right? I could squeeze him at 10, but there's several other guys that I think probably you could, due to longevity and consistency, I would put ahead of him. But I can see him being at 10. But ahead of Kevin Durant, there's no way. There's no way. There's just a resume. At some point, you got to have. At some point, the resume has to matter. At some point, the resume has to matter, guys, and that's my issue with this list. These guys are up and coming stars. That they're very good players. They're superstars, borderline superstars. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell's a superstar, but Jalen Brunson, I think, just reached the consistency of a superstar, right? And for him to be put ahead of a guy who's been a superstar for 10 to 12 straight years, who has been on that level and has not regressed at all in those years, I think it's honestly disrespectful to have him ahead of Kevin Durant.
Wemby is probably the worst of the names here simply because he just hasn't been around. The dude has literally played like 100 games at the NBA level. He played 40, either 41 or 46 this past season, and then he played 71 his rookie year. So he's barely played like 110 games in his NBA career. None of it has translated to winning, mind you. Like it's all just, he's a walking top 10 defense and he's the DPOY and all this. It's like, okay, well, where's that translating for the Spurs defense? Is the Spurs defense good? No. they're awful. And granted, they've been tanking. So like, but the back half of this past season was supposed to be like our first real look, like post De'Aaron Fox trade and everything of like, oh, well, now the Spurs are trying to win. And look, maybe, we're talking all this mess and maybe Wemby comes out and he is like legitimate top 10 player this season and he wins DPOY and the Spurs sneak into the play-in, or maybe they earn just an outright playoff spot. Who knows? And we could look like idiots by the end of the season. But as of right now, it feels wrong to include him, above other players that have shown considerably more.
Exactly. I mean, Victor Wembanyama just hasn't shown it yet. And, this is the type of thing that scares me. It scared me since Victor Wembanyama got in the league, where guys jump the gun on how good they know a player is going to be, right? And start to jump the gun on what they are right now, right? And which Victor Wembanyama is right now is a very good player, an all-star player, but he is nowhere near a top 10 best player in the league, right? This guy has to be, his minutes are being managed. You know what I mean? This guy, he affects the game defensively in a tremendous way. But there was already talk when his team wasn't even a playoff team of giving him the defensive player of the year. Those types of things really bother me. Let those players earn those stripes before you begin to give them all the accolades that you project in your mind that they deserve. They have to actually meet those goals before you start to put them ahead of guys who've been checking those boxes for years. And that's my biggest issue with this list, is this list to me feels more like guys wanting to be smart rather than guys respecting the game.
I feel that. And that brings us to, and this is where I think we start to get into the territory of like, it's legitimate. I think Ant has earned his place at the top. He is a legit superstar. He's taken to the Wolves to the conference finals in back-to-back seasons. And he's only going to continue to get better. The fact that he turned into like this just absolute, flamethrower 3-point shooter from long distance, given his insane athleticism and his downhill ability to get to the rim, his next step is going to be figuring out how to consistently elevate his teammates and not just be able to get his own. But I don't really have any worries about that with Ant. And again, right now, you're trying to win next season. Ant is a really good bet outside of that top 5 of I think we cemented that top 5 in there. Ant is arguably the best pick to be right outside on the outside looking in of that top 5 group.
Yeah, I'm actually not. It's arguable. I think this is where it's arguable. If Kevin Durant, to me, you could take either or at 6, either Ant or Kevin Durant. And the reason I say is because Anthony Edwards has shown a consistency of being a superstar. He's going to 2 straight conference finals without another superstar on his team. So he's dragged and at a very young age. And now he's shown the consistency of being a superstar. And now he's at the cusp of doing what you just said, making the other players better. He's already getting better at it, but this is the type of projection that I can see coming up, where he actually able to cross that threshold next year, right? And it's because he showed the consistency of the level of his play. So, and at 6 ahead of Kevin Durant, to me, is either or. You could go either way for me.
All right, coming up, we're going to present our own top 10 lists here to round out the show. What should have transpired, at least in our eyes, with this Locked On poll. We're going to get there in just one moment. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, we went through the top 10 list for this Locked On poll. We had a lot of issues with it. And I think there were a lot of issues with this list ultimately. Madison, let's navigate this and let's present our own top 10 list. Really quickly, though, I want to bring back the Locked On list for a split second here, just to re-up again. Are we in agreement that at least the top 4 for absolute certainty are locks, right? It's Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Luka. You can have them in whatever order you want to have them in, but I think those are definitively the 4 best players in the NBA right now.
Yes, I have that in my top 4. Not in this order, but I wouldn't be mad at any order that you gave it.
Okay, all right, cool. So definitively there, we got those 4, and then this is what. So we'll just leave that for a second. And you know what? Actually, you can tee us off because we know that you and I both have those 4 in that order, in some order at the top, and we can get to the specifics. But start us off at 5 because that's where things get really interesting. So start us off with your list at 5.
At 5, I kind of went back and forth between two guys. And I have to give it to Steph Curry, another guy who, and this is consistent with the list, another guy who just the longevity of greatness, it really matters to me. The consistency of being at a level and keeping that consistency up. I trust Steph Curry in any situation to win me a game, and that is what's putting him ahead of the guy I got behind.
Okay. All right. So Steph Curry at 5. I also have Steph at 5. And I wasn't as torn about it as you are. I think that when you look at, I think one thing that stands out when you look at this list of names, right, and you start trying to factor in, okay, who are these top 10 guys? It's about the guys that really shape the game. And Steph still at this age, right, still shapes the game. You can make an argument that Steph shapes the game even more so than a couple of the names that are ahead of him on that list, right? You can argue Steph shapes the game more than SGA shapes the game, given their different play styles, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, that's where I come in with Steph at 5, and he's a strong 5 for me. Like I'm not budging on that. It's those 4 guys are ahead of him because they do more heavy lifting. They're younger. They have the bigger highs still, that kind of thing. But Steph is right there at 5 for me. Again, a little begrudgingly, but I'm in agreement with you there. Let's go to 6. Who you got at 6?
At 6, I have Anthony Edwards. And I have Anthony Edwards because I think Anthony Edwards is shown consistently now for 3-4 years that he's a superstar level, at least 3 years, and the ability to drag a team with really no other crucial offensive help to the conference finals. I mean, he had Cat for one of those years. Yeah, that's pretty bad, bro. Like Julius Randle's your second best player, bro. I don't even remember seeing him on the list, the top 100 list. So, you know what I mean? I think it's pretty bad. And the same with Cat. Cat has not been historically a playoff performer. He's not risen to the moment in the playoffs. And this guy literally has drug a team to the conference finals twice, has beaten my number 1 player, Jokic, you know, in the playoffs in a 7-game series. I mean, at that age to have accomplished those type of feats, you know, he's entering his prime, and the level that he is, he actually may be the best player on this list in 2-3 years. And so, you know, he's constantly ascending. He's not even at his prime yet, and he's already that good.
You and I are in lockstep so far. And now keep in mind, I did vote on this list. So this is my list. This is what I submitted for the actual vote. And so you and I are in perfect. Actually, just really, I know I said we'd start at 5. I want to go really quickly. My actual top 4, I had Jokic, SGA, Luka, Giannis. Who did you have?
I have Jokic, Luka, SGA, Giannis.
Okay, so Luka over SGA. Okay, all right.
And I argued about it, but
you can float back and forth a little bit. I give SGA the edge because of his defense over Luka. Luka is still a defensive sieve, unfortunately, and that's kind of an issue at the end of the day. So that's what gave him the edge. But then I gave Luka the edge over Giannis, even though Giannis is considerably a better defender. I gave Luka the edge over Giannis because I think Luka shapes the game more offensively than Giannis does.
Yes.
So, okay, all right. Even though Giannis is legitimately the best two-way force in the NBA. So, all right. Who you got at 7?
Okay, at 7, I got my boy, Kevin Durant. This is
dude. We are on the exact same wavelength. I've got KD at 7 too. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
It's not that hard.
It's not. It shouldn't have been this difficult. I'm gonna lose it because here I want you to know. Peek behind the curtain. We don't talk about this before we hit record. Like I text Madison in the early in the day. I'm like, come up with your own top 10 list. That's how this show works. And then we come into this completely blind. So far we are lockstep on. We missed SGA Luka, but like more or less the top 7, pretty much the same. All right. KD at 7 makes sense, right behind Ant. And you could, like you said earlier, you could make that argument KD over Ant if you really wanted to, but Ant feels like he's earned that spot in both of our eyes, it feels like. So KD at 7, where he deservedly should be. Who you got at 8?
At 8, I think this is where we're gonna diverge.
Oh, we'll see.
I got a surprise for y'all at 8. I think it shouldn't be a surprise, but honestly, I got Devin Booker at 8.
Whoa.
I got D Book, man. D Book's a top 10 player, bro. I don't care.
Whoa.
D Book's a top 10 player, and it just is what it is, man. I think he's being punished. He had some lower efficiency years, but I really believe it's just the way the team was built. You know what I mean? And we've seen what he can do. He's been consistent. He's still played at a superstar level, even though he's had down years efficiency wise. And that's the floor of his type of game. I think once they get that team together and actually work as a cohesive unit, he's going to be once again a top 10 player. I think Devin Booker's been a top 10 player in this league before these last 2 years where the team, I think, was kind of disjointed.
Wow. So basically you're making the argument. You think Booker is the second best two guard in the NBA behind Ant, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
No, Shea. Shea is
SGA's a point guard. This is I hate. I mean, now we're just arguing semantics. He has the ball in his hands literally 24. I mean, it's
they all do.
Modern NBA. No, anyways, all right, whatever. Positionless basketball. All right. So that's the buzzword here. Positionless basketball. Okay. All right. You have Booker. Yeah, this is where we diverge.
Yeah.
Even though he's regressed, I can't not include LeBron in the top 10.
Man, I got LeBron in my top 10 too, bro. I can't do it.
There's no way, right? Because here's the problem. And here's the thing. Consistency is a part of it, sure. And is LeBron a top 10 player every single night? Probably not. He takes too many nights off. He takes too many games off. He takes too many plays off. But when he wants to be, he's still arguably the best player in the world. And that's the problem. Like, you can't count against that. When LeBron locks in and plays like it, he is still arguably the best player in the world, even at 40, 41, whatever he is now, in his 40s. And that's kind of nuts to say. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He gets spot 8 for me. I'm still going to put all the other guys ahead of him because they're more consistently great at this stage than LeBron is. But even defensively, when LeBron wants to lock in and play defense, that 3-week stretch where the Lakers looked like a dominant defensive team last season, where it's like, oh my God, JJ Redick figured it out. It was just they all tried a lot harder and then they got tired and they couldn't keep playing that way. So but LeBron looked great in that stretch. So, all right. You had Book, I had LeBron. Where are you going for number 9?
So at number 9, so I didn't know the injury stuff should be taken this much into consideration. So I do have a guy at number 9 that won't play much next year, and that's Jayson Tatum. And I have Tatum at number 9 because he's consistently in the MVP conversation. He's a NBA champion, the best player on a championship team, and he deserves a top 10 spot.
I agree with you on the Tatum one. And even here's my thing is like, it's hard for me because like factoring in the injury stuff, it kind of smudges the list in my eyes. You can't just pretend like you can't just like do like 2K and like turn off the injury sliders. You have to factor it. But for me, like I didn't let it hit as hard as it probably should have when I was doing my voting. I had Brunson at 9. I really I like a Brunson to me is just, and we talk about this all the time, the idea of having like an engine that runs a team. Brunson is one of the best engines in the NBA. You could put Brunson on any team and he'll run the show and he'll get you his 25 a night with 7 or 8 assists. And and like his one knock is he's not truly a two-way player. Like him and Cat leave a lot to be desired defensively. And the other 3 guys, right, have to do a lot of coverage to make up for those 2 guys on that end of the floor. But, when especially his clutch time performances, man, like in the playoffs, especially, like that dude is a playoff riser. You want to talk about a guy that arrives for the biggest moments? That is Jalen Brunson to a T. And I would argue Jalen Brunson has more impressive overall playoff moments and games than Tatum does. Like he's shown up bigger in playoff moments than I think Tatum has. Tatum's won a title. Tatum's had some big games. I
don't think he has more impressive playoff moments, but I do think he's more consistent in the playoffs.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Because Tatum's just been doing it in the playoffs for a longer time.
He's been doing it since he was a rookie. He boomed LeBron James as a rookie. Like that's kind of crazy to think about. All right. So I had Brunson
50 piece.
And look, but I don't hate it, right? I could have you Brunson, and then I had Tatum at 10th. So like flip flop them either way. Who do you got at 10?
I got LeBron James.
Okay, that's rounding out your list.
Yes, that's rounding out my list. I'm not mad at the argument that Brunson could be ahead of him, but LeBron James is still playing at a very, very high level at 40 years old, and I think he's really just honestly, the step back he's taking is because now he finally can. Like with Luke on the team, he's just preserving himself. But for Brunson, I think for me, the defense, the size, right, is an issue for me. And I need him to play at this level for at least 2 more seasons before I think he's in that top 10. But I do think he's a superstar level player.
I did have one name, and this was my name on the outside looking in, and you could slot him, and this might be a little controversial, but AD is like, yeah, you don't agree with it?
I'm just not an AD believer.
Okay.
You
want to talk about inconsistency, because sometimes AD looks like he could be the GOAT, and then other times it's like, is he even on the, you don't even recognize he's on the floor. But like
injuries,
there's a lot playing against him, but like it's something about, like, you know, again, you talk about when AD's at his best, there's a legitimate conversation between who's the better two-way force between him and Giannis. I feel like a legitimate conversation to be had.
If AD was consistent, if he was consistent the way we know he's supposed to play, he'd be a top 5 player on this list.
Yeah, but it's tough. And that's why these lists are hard. It's very subjective, and you got to take a lot into account and try to provide some context where you can. That's how we would have ranked the top 10. That's not would have. That's how I did rank the top 10 on this poll. Clearly, it didn't work enough because my vote only counted for 1, and other teams got 2 votes, which is rigged. It's wrong. Anyways, we want your thoughts on the top 10 players in the NBA. Where should KD have landed in this poll? Let us know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Madison, you know the drill. Let me know where to track you down at.
Find me at Madman Leaks on Twitter. Come talk Rockets basketball, NBA draft.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thanks so much for checking out the show. Remember, the best way to help us grow the show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.